Hey guys, it's me, Jollerface. I guess to kind of, get the elephant out the room. This is my first video. Well, not my first video, but my first time actually talking in a video. Feel free to let me know if I did a good job or not. In this video, I'm basically just going to be, talking to you guys while at the same time you guys have something to watch. But for the most part, I'm basically just going to be telling you guys a story while you guys watch it. So it's not too boring, but at the same time, in a way, entertaining for you guys. So without further ado, if you guys like what I do and you guys want to support me in any way, shape, or form, then you know what? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as it does keep me motivated to keep doing these types of videos for you guys. While at the same time, it also gives you guys opportunities to, join me on this journey as I improve my art every single day and get better by the time. So other than that, let's get right into the story. With this story, it's basically going to be revolving around a particular boss that I had at one point when I was working in a franchise. The way it goes is I was basically on my way to work, right? Like any normal day. I don't exactly want to say what the place is for, I guess, legal reasons. And, just because why not? But I'm just going to call the place Pizzas Plazas. I don't know why. It's just the name that I chose. But yes, it is a very fancy pizza place. So real quick, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of context. At this time, during the time of that story, I was pretty new to the establishment or the place. So I didn't really know too much, nor did I really have any experience in that type of restaurant. Like, I have worked in restaurants, but more of like fast food restaurants where it's, very, very casual. But this job in particular was more of a fine, high place, I guess you can say. It was just more expensive, something that I just wasn't used to. Another thing, too, that I also want to mention is my position at the time was certified chef, which to certain degrees, I did let that kind of get to my head just because I was like, oh, okay, like I'm a certified chef. Like that's cool. I like that. But yeah, but I wasn't like the best cook. Plus, too, when I had the title certified chef, I kind of thought, my initial thought was I basically was going to be cooking more than just pizzas, which the ideal was to just only cook pizzas. So, they were first telling me about it. I was kind of just thinking like, oh, okay, like I'm going to be cooking like, pastas and freaking like spaghetti, things like that. I don't really know that many dishes, so like don't hate on me. Yeah, so long story short, I ended up just only making pizzas. I did make pastas from time to time, but it was very, very rare. It was super, super rare. For the most part, I was just in a small section that they called the pizza area, and that was where I did majority of my bidding. So one day, right, when I was in work, I basically came into a scenery where all my coworkers are basically huddled up together. And, me being me, I tried to kind of ignore it because I didn't really know anybody. So I was like, oh, it's not really my problem or, But at the same time, too, I can't really hide the fact that I'm a little bit of a chismoso. So I kind of wanted to know what was going on. So I tried to arch or make my way closer to the circle just to kind of see, like, if I could, like, hear something, which, again, being chismoso, but I can't help it. It's just who I am, So I ended up not really hearing what was going on just because I had kind of came late, and it eventually kind of played in my part just because, at that time, I was also working with another pizza chef person, I guess you can say. And he basically just kind of informed me and what happened. So long story short, what had happened was the boss at the time that hired me had eventually just kind of quit. Like there was no explanation, there was no reasoning. He just vanished. So that, well, basically after hearing that he had disappeared, my initial thought was, are we still gonna work, or like is everyone just gonna go home? Is the store gonna shut down? you know which at the time I didn't mind. I'm not trying to say I'm lazy, but I mean, hey, who doesn't like a day away from work? So that was my thought process, but I was basically wrong because I guess they were prepared. So they ended up having a new guy come in, and this new guy ended up being the boss or another owner of the same franchise, just at a different location, which I didn't mind at the time because he did kind of seem cool, and he did have like somewhat of a personality. So I was like, maybe this guy won't be all bad. But later down the line, I was wrong. I was so wrong. This you guys will understand later down in the video. But basically, I kind of want to address some things about this guy, right? Just so for the people that are just listening. This guy, he was a little zesty. He was pretty zesty, and that's okay. That's okay. Moving on. Everything kind of started out pretty normal. I mean, basically, we just go around the store, ask, us about our names and, who we are and what our occupations are and, like, just position-wise. I guess, bottom line, just to kind of get, a feel of what his new crew is, which is understandable. But for some reason, I kind of always felt like this guy didn't really, have the best interest in me. I don't know if because it was new, so I didn't really know too much. So I wasn't really, caught up to date with the rest of the crew. I believe at the time I was the newest person there. Like, I was literally fresh out. Moving forward, I basically used to have a lot of incidents with this guy or the new boss in the form of, I guess, humor or jokes. Just because he would basically make jokes, and to him they were funny, but to me, I kind of took them like as insults, which I want to address real quick too. Like, for the most part, I don't really take things serious, and I feel like I can find myself on numerous occasions of being able to take a joke. For the most part, I try not to let things get the best of me, or try to let what other people say about me offend me. But for some reason, this guy just, like, all those rules, everything I just said, like, it just went out the door. For some reason, this guy just bugged me. Like, we just didn't click. It just wasn't it. And basically, every time this guy would, me and him would interact, he basically would just insult me. Like, it just wasn't even jokes. It was just straight insults. Like, for example, I can recall one time when I think I walked in and he just basically made fun of my looks, like in the form of like, oh, Frankie, like, why do you I think you put the wrong face on, and just things like along those lines. I don't exactly remember what he said, but it was pretty insulting. I had just like woke up, I just got ready, I was already on my way to work, and then he says that. So I was just like, okay, like, all right. Just a very odd way to start my day, but it's all good. Anyways, I basically just went the rest of the day just not talking to him, just because it was just my form of, he doesn't like me. That's fine. It's okay. I'm still going to do my job at the end of the day. I mean, that's all I can do, right? After, like, I guess a few months of working with him, I eventually got used to him, or, so I thought I did. And basically, we kind of had our well, I want to say my very first incident where I genuinely got upset and I kind of did tell him something, not in a bad way. Like it wasn't like mean or anything. It was just kind of, I was just like, hey, stop that. Basically what it was. Anyways, so the way it went was I was working, and at the time I was still getting used to my station. And just again to kind of give you guys a context so you guys know like what is going on. I think we were, fairly busy, not too much, just a tiny bit. And I basically have to make these pizzas. And if you ever worked at a pizza place, you know, it's not those ovens where, you just put it on one end, you wait a while, and then it comes out the other, and then bada bing, bada boom. No, this one was a furnace. We had a whole furnace that you basically would put the pizzas in the furnace, and you would just pretty much just have to just wait. And well, since at the time, to me, that was like fairly new, and I just kind of want to address, I'm not the best cook. I don't really know how to cook, which is a shame, but I'll learn eventually. Anyways, so I basically have to do that while making the pizzas. And again, since I'm still pretty new, that was a pretty hard task to do. It sounded so simple, but to me, it was hard. It was super hard. I couldn't do it. I just for some reason just freaking couldn't make pizzas correctly, and it was just bad. It was just super super bad. So, moving on, I basically had, burnt one of my pizzas, which it wasn't like super black, super freaking, no, it wasn't like that. Like it just, I guess you can kind of label it as like, it was pretty well done. Like, you bite it, little crunch going on. Like, that's basically how like burnt it was. So he saw it because, again, he was the one that was basically cutting those pizzas and then putting them on trays for the waiters to take them. And he saw my pizza, and he just kind of looked at it for a second, and I'm thinking to myself, like, he's going to insult me. This isn't good. And I was right. Yeah, he basically looked at the pizza, and then he chuckles, looks at me, and then he just says, hey, Frankie, you can't burn my pizzas and be slow. Like, come on. And I was like, after that, I was just like, like, that's not good. That's not okay. Like, my feelings were hurt. I was just sad the rest of the day. I was just like, damn. My feelings were burnt. I just got roasted so badly. I just accepted it. But at the same time, I definitely was a little upset too because, I felt like at the time, like, he just didn't, want to understand the fact that I am still learning. Like, I'm freaking new to this. Obviously, I'm going to be freaking slow. And obviously, like, my pizzas aren't going to be freaking, like, a top 10 or freaking, a Gordon Ramsay pizza. Like, I barely know what I'm doing, dude. Like, let me cook. Let me cook. I promise you. I'll be good. I hope. Anyways, so moving on, that was, like, the first incident. The actual, like, incident that I like 100% remember. Those insults basically those jokes turned into insults, and then it got to the point where he would basically, like, talk about me amongst the other coworkers. And the thing that I didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, or that just made it worse, is, like, he wouldn't hide it. Like, he would plain out just look at me, whisper to his coworkers, they'd laugh, and I'm just kind of there like, bro, like, I thought this stuff, like, stays in high school, I thought it was, like, I genuinely thought, like, the gossiping and things like that, like, after high school, like, it's just, like, it just dies out. Like, obviously, I know, like, people still gossip even now, but, like, the level of, freaking pointing at me and giggling, especially coming from a grown man, like, it was just weird. It was just super weird. That's all I can say. Anyways, so later down the line, right, this is where the next incident happened that eventually, to me, I was just kind of like, all right, like we're done here. We can't work here no more. Basically how it went is I forgot my hat, and I didn't realize until I had got to work. So by the time got out my car and I was gonna go put my hat on, I saw that I didn't have it and I didn't bring it. And so I just sat there just like, why, bro? Why? So I was like, whatever, like, I'm gonna get chewed out. I'll probably get written up, but, you know, it's okay. I can't change it, so there's no point in getting, like, upset about it. So I go in and I talk to him, basically just tell him, like, hey, I forgot my hat. And he just kind of looked at me. And I think at the time he was, like, you know, semi-busy. I think he was on the phone. I don't really remember. But he basically tossed a hat at me and basically said, okay, I'm going to give you another one. After that, I'm going to write you up if you forget it again. Which, you know, it's understandable. I get it. So I had no problem with that. But it's just the next thing he said is just like, why? So after he told me that, I basically just said, like, oh, like, is it okay if, you know, I just, you know, wear it today and then give it back to you? Only because of the fact that I have a lot of those hats, so I did not need more hats. So I was just trying to be, you know, courteous. And basically this guy just looks at me and he makes like a very like grossed out face. And he just tells me, like, he's like, ew, like, what? No, I don't want your germs. So I just kind of just stood there and I was like, what? Like, there's no way. Like, I just heard that. So my initial thought was just kind of like, what's this guy's problem? Like, why? I'm not freaking dirty. Like, you know, I shower almost every day. Like, yeah, I'm probably like dirty from the freaking foods, but like, it was the morning. I just freaking showered. If anything, I freaking smell like sunshines and rainbows. Like, I thought at the time I smelled freaking amazing. So I don't know what this guy's deal was. Long story short, I got a little upset, which, you know, I'm aware of it. You know, there's ways to go about things, and obviously, yeah, I would definitely like highly recommend that, you know, especially in the workplace, if, you know, you're going to get upset, there's always a time and place. But for some reason, again, in that time, I was just like, you know, I just didn't care. I didn't care. So I basically just told him off, and I'm not proud of it. It's not a proud moment of mine, but at the end of the day, I don't regret it. I mean, he totally deserved it. Like, he was just flat out freaking rude. Just a rude person all around, you know. So I told him off, and he basically just looked at me like super dumbfounded, you know, and just shocked just at the fact that, you know, someone below him stood up for himself. So basically in the end, I basically just quit. I walked out right after that conversation, and he basically just texted me later that day saying that walking out of work is a write-up, and that if I do it again, that I will be fired. But it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, after I left, like, I 100% quit. I was not coming back. I was not going there because of the sole fact that, like, this guy is my boss, and just there's really nothing I could have done. So that's basically how that story went. So without further ado, if you guys really like this story and you guys want to see more of it, you know, I definitely would like, you know, to talk to you guys about my experiences. If you guys really do like this stuff, you know, feel free to support me by, you know, liking and subscribing. And while you're at it, you know, leave a comment. I would like to read, you know, your guys' opinions on what I can do to improve, or what I can do to make, you know, the videos more entertaining for you guys. So on that note, I will see you guys later.